Hello and welcome to a quick tutorial of the TFDi MD-11. Right at the beginning, a very important disclaimer. This is not going to be a true to life or true to real life procedures tutorial. This is just a quick and dirty tutorial to get you up in the air and doing your first flight as quickly as possible. So please keep that in mind. Okay, we are at Vienna and we are going to do a very short and quick flight from Vienna to Munich. And as you can see, I've set the weather to clear skies and it's about noon, so I would recommend doing that as well, because we don't want to mess with any weather variability or winds or whatever, just to have a clear and easy situation for you to get started with the airplane. Maybe you have some quick view set up with the airplane. Just make sure that everything is set up correctly, the axis and the buttons, and if you have any hardware controllers, whatever. Okay, so the video will be separated in 3 parts. First part is going from cold and dark through the startup of the airplane and the programming of the FMS up to the taxi part of the flight. The second part will be takeoff, cruise, and probably descent. We'll see about that. And the last part will of course be the descent, approach phase, landing. Okay, so first of all we have to go to the overhead and switch on the battery. And next thing we're going to do is switch on the APU by just pressing it. Next up is the start of the IRS. All 3 switches to nav. And we're already going to switch some lights on, the nav and the beacon light. Takes some time for the APU to get started. Just wait till it reads available. Or I'm sorry, available is blinking until it has a constant green light and on, just like that. We are going to switch the APU bleed on, and as soon as that is done, we'll switch to the EFB. Disconnect the GPU and set the parking brake and remove the wheel chocks. Next thing we're going to do is just click master caution here to get rid of that warning. We're going to calibrate the altimeter. Please check in your controls what setting you have for that. It is now 2992 because it's clear skies, it's a predefined weather situation, so we're good with that. But in case you have any other weather, just be sure to calibrate your altimeter. Okay, we are now going to program the FMS for this flight. We are going to FMC 1 and to flight plan initialization. We are going from Vienna, which is Lima Oscar Whiskey Whiskey, to Munich, which is Echo Delta Delta Mike. We don't fill in an alternate. We will enter a imaginary flight number, which is X01. We are flying westwards, so we are going to put in a flight level of 280, and the cost index, I don't want to mess with that, and I don't want to go into explaining that, so I'm just putting in 20 here. Okay, next we are going to press the initialize IRS, and because we're already in this part of the pedestal, we are going to uncage the standby altimeter, and we're going to switch auto brake to takeoff. Okay, here, next page. You do not have to put in any specific payload, but I'm doing it now anyway. It's in pounds here. You can also have it in kilograms. I'm just going to put in a cargo of 20,000 pounds and a fuel quantity of 30,000. Bear in mind that depending on the length of your flight, you have to have enough fuel on board, of course. But since it's going to be a short flight and since we are very light, this is going to be more than sufficient. So back to the FMS, and it automatically fills in your weights when you click here. I'm sorry, and click here and click here. So we just initialize the most important parts of the flight, and we're going to flight plan. Click on Vienna here. And we are not going to use any standard instrument departures, whatever. We're just going to select a runway, which is 29, which is the closest to our current position. And insert. And we are going to go to Munich. And again, we are not going to fill in any complicated or some complicated procedure here. We are just going to land on ILS 26 left and insert. So as you can see, we have a flight plan here now, and we have this flight plan discontinuity. So if I show you this on the nav display, you can preview your route by pressing the plan button here. And as you can see, we are now standing at Vienna and our departure runway is 29. And as soon as I delete the flight plan discontinuity, you can see the direct connection between Vienna and if you go down here, you can see it is almost pretty much a straight line. As I said, feel free to enter any standard instrument departure or any standard arrival route, whatever you want. But this is very rudimentary, so yeah, just to keep it simple. But if you want to enter a flight plan, if you want to import a Simbri flight plan, feel free to do it. Okay, we have previewed the route. There are no discontinuities anymore, so we can leave this alone. We can switch to map again, and all we have to do now is calculate the takeoff performance, and we can do that here. We see Vienna is a departure, runway 29, and we'll get the weather information. And we get the takeoff weight here, and we're gonna do a takeoff with optimum flap setting and the packs on, and then we're gonna calculate that here. So it tells you the V1 speed, the V rotate speed, and the V2 speed, flex temperature, and the flap setting. So we will go to takeoff approach here. We will enter the flex temperature as told. I'm gonna do the you can enter any values here, 0/0, whatever, but as we already have that information here, I'm going to put it in. So the slope of the runway is minus 0.2. Minus 0.2, and we have a tailwind of 0 knots. So if I'm not completely mistaken, I should put this in with minus 0. Or he puts it in as a headwind. Let me try that again. Minus 0.2 slash plus 0. Yeah, he puts this in as a headwind, or because, you know, 0 knots doesn't matter if it's a headwind or tailwind. But I think if it's headwind, I put it in with I insert it with a plus, and if it's a tailwind, I put it in. I insert a minus. But I'm not entirely sure. So now we enter the outside temperature, which is minus 3 Celsius. Minus 3 Celsius. The flap setting of 10. It also calculates in here, so don't be surprised. You can take the values. As you can see, it's 1 knot difference at the V1 and VR speeds, and the V2 speed is 162. So it's 1 knot difference. You can use these speeds or enter the ones from the EFB. Just for the sake of simplicity, I'm gonna enter these speeds that it calculated here. So we are pretty much configured as for all the stuff that we have to do in the FMS. We're going to slide a little bit back here now to the throttle quadrant. We're going to switch dial flap to 10. And we are arming the spoilers already. Okay. We are also switching on the TCAS system to TARA and to on. And I'm sorry, I had my gear lever at the wrong position, but I corrected that now. And at the overhead panel, we are going to switch on the seatbelt sign, the no smoking sign, and the RMD emergency lights. We can already switch on the taxi light and the runway turn-off lights. I'm also going to switch on the logo lights and the emergency power switch. We have to switch to armed. So we are pretty much done now. As you can see, the only thing that we have to wait for now is the IRU is still in alignment. So we have to wait for that to align. I hope that it's that will be done in a second. I hope so. Yeah, you can see on the second page of the of this position reference pages, you can see 1 minute, 0 minutes now. It should align now in any second. There we are. Okay, back to the flight plan. We are ready for engine start. As you can see, I placed us at a gate where we won't have to do a pushback or whatever, just again for the sake of simplicity. We are going to be able to start our taxi directly from this position. So we are basically ready for engine start. We're doing that by switching on one of the two ignition systems on the overhead panel. I'm going to switch on A. APU air is already on. That is very important. And now you just have to take a look here at the throttle quadrant and press the engine start button, which is going to light up in red. And you will wait for the N2 to rise to about 20, and then you can initiate the fuel flow. As you can see, it rises, and one rises now, and you have successfully started your first engine. As soon as this light comes off, you can start starting engine number 2. Alright, here we go. Again, wait for N2 to rise. So this display here is basically your central information system for all the stuff that you need to know of the current flight phase. So right now it gives us some information on the hydraulic pumps, and there's no smoking and seatbelt signs. And you can see there's a white rectangle here, and it says stabilizer trim. The reason for that is that it checks the configuration for the takeoff, and it detects that we haven't set our stabilizer trim yet. The stabilizer trim in the MD-11, I mean, it's important in every airplane out there, but in the MD-11 it's really very, very, very important to set this correctly. Otherwise you will have a lot of problems on takeoff and approach. So we go to the takeoff page again, and we see the stabilizer setting is 5.3. So we move the elevator trim to 5.3. And you can see it turned green. And now it changed to flaps, telling you that the flaps are not set yet. Okay, so we will set the flaps, or we will extend the slats first. I'm going to check. Yeah, there's a beautiful view. So we're going to set this to 0 now, which extends the slats. And then I'm going to set the flaps 1 more notch down, which switches to dial flap, and so it will go to your flap setting of 10. Now with that you can see he detects, oh, the brakes are still on, so that's not good for takeoff, so please sort that out. Okay, we are ready for taxi. The only thing that we still have to do is check if the control surfaces are working. So we can, by pressing these buttons here, we can select certain info displays here. So this is a configuration tab, and I will pull the elevator now full up, neutral, full down, and as you can see in the display, you can check if the control surfaces are working. This is full left and this is full right. We're also going to check the rudder movement, right and left, and with that, that's also the nose wheel movement. Now we can release the brakes, and we are already moving. So the first thing you have to do is check the brakes. So press the brakes a little bit. Okay, we have stopped now. Brakes are working. Okay, let's start our taxi phase. Just give her a little bit of thrust. We are very light on this flight, so she's already moving with no thrust input, but we would like a little bit of ground speed, which you can see displayed here. Slowly rising. Now, one thing about taxiing the MD-11, there are a few things to keep in mind. The first one is try to execute your tight turns at 10 knots or less, because if you're faster you will have problems to execute the turn. And the nose wheel is very far behind the cockpit, so when you initiate your turns, keep that in mind, because from your point of view in the cockpit you will have the impression, oh, that you're very late for the turn, but in fact you will have the nose gear on the line. It takes a little bit of practice, but you will get the hang of it very quickly. Okay, so there's the holding point of runway 29. So not a very long taxi phase. I'm going to speed up a little bit now. Okay, so one thing we still have to do is we are going to have to I'm going to dial in the heading of the runway here, which is 29, and I'm going to arm the nav mode, which is our lateral navigation. So press this and nav armed turns up here. As you can see, we are now speeding up pretty quickly, so I'm going to reduce the throttle a little bit, and we are going to set the cruise altitude here. We are doing this without ADC, so there's no initial climb altitudes to be or restrictions to be entered. So I'm just going to switch this to our cruising altitude of 280, and we are going to arm our vertical profile here. So profile armed, you can see it is here in the primary flight display. Okay. And if you take a look at the information here, we now have the green rectangle, which tells us, hey, you are set for takeoff. Okay, so I'm going to apply a little bit of the brakes just to slow us down. And as you can see, take a look at this taxi line. I want to do the turn exactly. So okay, it's, you see, I can no longer see it, but our nose gear is still very far away, and now it's hitting it. So this would be the point where I am executing the turn slowly. And I'm already, you see, I'm already too narrow on this turn. So I have to avoid the main gear scratching the outer edges of the taxiway. So it takes some practice. As soon as we're at the holding point, we are going to switch on the landing lights, which have to be extended first. It's a 2-click, it takes 2 clicks, one for extension and the other one for turning it on, and the taxi light as well. And we are also going to switch on the high intensity lights. And as you can see, we still have to switch off the APU bleed, because we have this warning here that pack 2 isn't working because the APU bleed is still on. Switch that off. We are ready for takeoff. So this is the end of the first video. In the next video, we are going to take off and climb on our little flights, on our little tutorial flight from Vienna to Munich. So see you in the next video, and until then, happy landings.